Is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom the worst movie I've ever seen? No. I've seen God's Not Dead and Sing. Is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom the worst scripted movie to come out in a while? Probably. I just got home from seeing the blockbuster sensation, and it was bad. It was really bad. I'm gonna split up this vlog into 3 segments. First, focusing on the horrendous dialogue. Second, focusing on the pretty bad story structure. And third, on my favorite, the horrendous characters. We start the movie off pretty strong with a really, really good scene that plays on my specific fears. But after that, I noticed something that pretty much ruined the rest of the movie for me. No one talked like they were talking. There was not a single moment of natural dialogue in the film. Or at least for the first half. It was particularly bad in the first half. Especially with any scenes involving Bryce Dallas Howard's character and Chris Pratt's character. It never sounded like they were talking to each other. It sounded like they were just reading a script at each other. Sentences never flew into each other. There was just yada yada yada, yada yada yada, yada yada yada, yada yada yada. It was never... It never felt more than script, which would also account for the complete lack of chemistry between any of the leads. That's part of the problem with the dialogue and with the acting, but the totally bland dialogue doesn't help. There was one line towards the end of the film, and that pretty much symbolizes the problems with every line of dialogue in the movie. It's entirely predictable, completely played out, and just stupid. The line was, "Come with me, Blue." And of course the raptor doesn't, which we'll get to the dinosaurs in a few minutes. Because if any of you who really know me, which I doubt if you watching this do, I was a huge dinosaur nut when I was a kid. By all rights, I should have loved this movie. I named all of these dinosaurs, but it only left me feeling empty and sad inside that I didn't become a paleontologist like I wanted. Back to the movie. The dialogue's bad. The second aspect of this movie that really didn't work was the structure. The film is split into 3-ish parts. The beginning, which feels like a disaster movie, a very short middle, which feels like a prison escape film, or it feels like some kind of prison movie, and then the end, which is your standard horror fare, PG-13 horror fare, and it's also where most of the action comes in. It wouldn't shock me if this film was originally supposed to be 2 films in this franchise, with the disaster film opening being one movie, and the selling the dinosaurs subplot being another movie. But it feels like both parts were compressed a ton and shoved together, which would help explain one of my major problems with the first half. There are multiple times where people just make stupid decisions that make no real sense. It's a scene everyone's seen in the trailers where I'm going to be going into spoilers in this. There is the scene where Chris Pratt's character Owen reunites with the raptor, and the poachers come in and start shooting her with tranks, and no one listened. It's pretty obvious they're going to betray him, but they do it immediately. They make it obvious what they are doing. It is like this fast that they are friends 1 second, and then the very next they are betraying them and shooting him with a tranq gun to leave him to die burning alive in lava. This could work if it was spread over more than 30 seconds of film. Same thing for pretty much half the decisions in this film. There was another scene towards the end where Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are in a truck and they're going to drive away in it. And out of nowhere, with no foreshadowing whatsoever, the main poacher pops out and pulls a gun on them. Again, this would work if there was some foreshadowing, but it just felt really contrived and didn't really fit with them being undercover. And there were just some stupid things like them driving a car into a boat and no one noticing, them being in a T-Rex pen and no one noticing. This movie, as a whole. And speaking of stupid, there are two characters in this. Well, let me rephrase that. There was only one good character in this movie. The Indoraptor, which I felt very sympathetic for and wanted him to kill everybody. But there are two characters that stood out to me as the epitome of what I hate in movies. The nerdy technician, we'll start with him. He is introduced in a very obnoxious, typical way of creeping on a girl. And he never really feels needed in the entire movie except to scream and show how scary the dinosaurs are. But he never contributes anything or is likable enough for you to feel invested when he is scared. Instead, when he's scared, he just screams and screams and screams, and you want to kick his fucking face in. I would have just written this character out, mixed his character in with the veterinarian. She could have been interesting if she had taken the part of the nerdy technician, but she was just a non-character, she was a plot convenience. And then there is the single most infuriating element of this film. The kid. I don't like kids. They smell. They're loud. They bug me. But I can overlook a decent child actor in a film. The first Jurassic Park film has a couple great child actors who only occasionally get on my nerves. Even the kids in Jurassic World in the first Jurassic World were annoying, but I related to the younger kid because that's how I was when I was that age. But they also felt somewhat relevant to the plot. They weren't completely necessary, but they felt relevant and fit tonally considering it's a theme park. But this kid in this film is infuriatingly stupid. There are multiple times where she just does things that are beyond logic and just feel like they happened because the screenwriters wrote themselves into a corner and needed something to happen. There was also this really obvious but also really stupid attempt to give her some depth by making her a clone of her granddad's daughter. It was... I figured it out in her second scene, and it didn't do anything to change her character. It didn't tie into the plot at all. For a second, I thought, maybe the Indoraptor has some connection to this, and that's why he's hunting her specifically. But nope, he's just hunting her because she's annoying and screaming a lot, which that's another reason I hated her, was just I'm eagerly anticipating the compilation someone makes on YouTube of just the technician and little girl screaming. It's probably going to last about 5 minutes, but Chris Pratt's character is annoying and just douchey. He was kind of likably stupid in the first one, but this one he just comes off as... He just comes off as a Chad. Bryce Dallas Howard's character, Chloe... It starts with a CH. Chlamydia? I don't know. But, Carol? No. She is a totally different character than she was in the first film. And it's just... She's also boring, and she doesn't really get on my nerves, but that's because Bryce Dallas Howard is a beautiful woman and not a bad actress. She just was empty. There was nothing to her character in this movie besides save the dinosaurs. Being tricked very easily. That's another element that could have been improved by expanding the movie or cutting the last act or just cutting shit. I don't know how you could have fixed this movie structurally unless you completely rewrote it or turned it into 2 films. I'm not going to spend a long time on how to fix this movie because it's already out. It's already bad. And there are certain movies where I feel like I could have done it better with just a couple screenwriting tweaks. This movie... I don't know if I could have salvaged this. I don't know if a professional could have salvaged this with the way the studio wanted it. Things I liked... I loved the Indominus Rex. There's the one scene in the movie I got really into was where it's at the very end and the Indominus... Did I say Indominus Rex? The Indoraptor. It might as well be the same thing, for all I care. The Indoraptor is released from its cage where it's being sold at an auction, and well, firstly it kills the obnoxious head poacher in a way that I found very clever and funny, and just after that I didn't stop rooting for the Indoraptor. I wanted her to eat all of the cast, especially that obnoxious little girl, but no, it got killed, and everyone treated it like, yay, it killed it. But goodbye to the most interesting character in the film. And its animation was also great. I loved how they gave it muscle spasms, and it looked just... You could tell it was smart, but it also just wasn't... It wasn't made properly, where they bring that up. That's just a prototype. But it's a very interesting way to take that. Other characters... Dr. Wu was kind of interesting, just as interesting, more interesting than he was in Jurassic World, but he was only in that for a minute, and in this one he's in it for 2 minutes, so. Though he does seem to show some, real passion into the making of the dinosaurs, which I find very interesting. I'll lead into my final comment with that, just one more element I liked. The guy who played the former Nazi scientist in American Horror Story Season 2 was in this as the little girl's granddad, and I really like him. He's a great actor. And he just classed the movie up for the 2 minutes he was in it before he was smothered with a pillow. Yep. Riveting. Also, the graphics were most of the time amazing. There was one shot where these bones were disintegrating into lava and it looked like PS2 graphics. But other than that, it looked pretty amazing. There were a couple bad just action scenes where there was no stakes, where there were the annoying technician and Bryce Dallas Howard were in one of the rolly sphere things, and it was sinking, and Chris Pratt had to save them. There was just no tension to that. I'll lead in with my final thought, my final problem with this film, and it's also a problem I have with Jurassic World. The first Jurassic Park film, and to an extent, The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, but ignore those. The first Jurassic Park film is about smart people doing smart people things and being respected for it, but then getting into something way over their head, and they have to think their way out of it. They were pro-smart people films. And yeah, no one in there was an action hero. Jeff Goldblum was supposed to be the eye candy of the movie, and, well, of course, that didn't totally work, but to put it simply, Jurassic Park is pro-intellectual, which I like. I like that, especially from the 90s where there were like no movies like that. Now we're moving into an age where that's becoming more common with characters like Tony Stark and I'm blanking. Tony Stark, Spider-Man, just the Marvel heroes, I guess. No, movies like Annihilation and Ex Machina that star smart people and respect them for it. They're becoming more common, and I really like that. Which makes it ironic that Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom both seem to idolize the dull bro action hero stereotype, the beautiful damsel in distress that's a little smart but not really where it matters stereotype, and the idiot smart person stereotype, and the all smart people are bad stereotype unless you're the idiot. It just seems to have and I'm not opposed to that existing in films. One of my favorite movies is Army of Darkness, and that film stars a complete idiot. But it just feels ironic to me that a film series that began with a celebration of science and paleontology, a movie that inspired me to want to be a paleontologist, it just makes me sad to see where it ended up. Into a dull, bland action movie where the heroes can punch their way out and face no consequences for it. Final thought that's similar to the last shot of the movie. Just like a velociraptor looking over a suburban neighborhood, thinking of all the toddlers it will eat, I look upon the Jurassic World franchise and see more films that I will not see. I will not give my money to the next one. At least, not willingly. And I look upon the movies in our future that are good, and I hunger for them.